primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the Dune Sea of Tatooine, I'm Chris Condact, and you're listening to Core World News, your holiday news show for in-depth coverage of the latest stories from around the galaxy. Now, the news segment rundown for January 6, 2022. The Book of Boba Fett. And now, your host, Ben Grant and Adam, to talk about The Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 2, The Tribes of Tatooine.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you very much, Grex. Greetings, Adam. Greetings, Grant. Good to be here with you after another exciting episode of Book of Boba Fett. Really exciting episode. Much longer than the last. 52 minutes on this one.
I know. I thought of you, Ben, when I saw that running time.
Yeah, I had mislooked at it. It felt like a full feature-length film when I was watching it. I was overjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
And
great
then, of course,
great insights were gained into the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah. So it was Steph Green directed this one, but felt like there's Robert Rodriguez dripping off the walls of a Tatooine bar on this one, with sparks and
even voices one of the most, I think, intriguing and compelling characters we've had on screen in the Mandoverse thus far, in Mayor Moke Shaiz. Love this character, and it voiced by Robert Rodriguez. And again, there are scenes in this episode that I think just evoke Rodriguez films. They're kind of like the transitioning, crossfading, the rapid crossfading. It's really evocative of some of his old work, but also beautifully directed by Steph Green.
Yeah,
shout out to
good.
Steph.
To the point where before, the name isn't until the very end, and I didn't look up anything about the episode. At the end, or about halfway through, I turned to Carly, who was just like, "Yeah, I think this is one of the Rodriguez episodes." Like, it just felt so much like his stuff. Right. I really thought it was going to be him. I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, but stylistically, this feels more coherent in some ways than The Mandalorian, which makes sense because The Mandalorian is a very episodic show, and this is not. This is very clearly an arc.
Long play.
And so, yeah.
I adored this one. It just definitely, this answered like all the questions I was asking in the last one, or really giving me all the things I wanted, where I was like, the last episode felt like Robert Rodriguez light, and this was Robert Rodriguez full bodied.
Yeah. Agreed.
Should we start at the beginning here? With that opening scene, it is my favorite. It's actually my backdrop on my PlayStation right now, which is the wide shot of Jabba's palace, and you see
Fennec Shand just schlepping up the desert, the dunes.
The dunes.
You're like, where's the land speeder? Like, did she get a land speeder? How did she get here? And then
they're the most budget cartel ever. They can't afford a speeder to carry themselves around in. They show in
Moksha's later is like, you have no idea how to run a crime family.
Yeah.
It's just okay, all right, there's some doubt being cast here.
Oh, you know what? That just made me think of something. So I was wondering where Slave One, I don't know if that's not unwoke to say that, but that's the name of Boba Fett.
It is canon name. I think they are not packaging it that way, but it is definitely still canon name.
Okay.
No, even though there was a large section of the internet got angry that they changed the name. They didn't. I
honestly think it's a non-issue.
They're just not
politicized, and it's really just disturbing that.
It
was a slave hauler. They were slaving in this fake galaxy that went on. It's not saying it's a good thing. It's just was the use of that ship.
I think the other thing is, for packaging for sales, it says Boba Fett's ship, which, by the way, how many people know the name of Boba Fett's ship? So if you're trying to sell Legos or you're trying to sell a toy to a kid, you would put Boba Fett's ship on the packaging, not Slave One.
Yeah, but in my day, Adam, it said Slave One, and you're like, that's the name of Boba Fett's ship, because that's how I found out.
Small insular group of kids love Star Wars, and now Star Wars is.
I don't know.
I always refer to that ship as Boba Fett's ship. I really never took time to tackle it.
Really?
I know.
I would say give more credit to the silhouette work they do there. I mean, that ship is iconic. There's only one person. Like, they play the like theme songs for
Right.
Boba Fett when you see it. Like, that's the ship. As soon as you see that, I don't know, that just like nestled into my heart forever. And I'm all right, I'll never forget that silhouette.
Let me counter that.
All right.
And I agree, because you're right, because it is all about silhouettes. Like, we can, and that's one of the great things about Lucas's design or Lucasfilm's design for ships.
Yeah.
But that's assuming that the kid is going to the store and not the grandparent to buy the toy for the kid, who says, I don't know what.
Right.
Boba Fett's ship, right? Like so. That's
which one's Boba Fett's ship?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so
that's
like,
my counter.
I
think it's all marketing. I think it's all marketing. It is an odd name for a ship. It makes sense in a false universe, but I get why they're not packaging that way. But it's still, if you go to the Wikipedia and you go to the Lucas stuff, it's still under Slave One.
Okay. Anywho, what I was gonna say is that I think I realized where it is. I think it's parked in Jabba's palace.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
I think there's a hangar in that place. There's one for the sail barge, so it wouldn't be in there because theoretically the barge would have been there when Boba was before Return of the Jedi. But I wonder if it's just parked in there already still.
But
yeah,
nevertheless, we don't see it in this episode, and I don't know when we're going to see it, but hopefully we do get some aerial, dogfights later in the season or in the next season, whenever they want to do it. But
I'm not going to steal Grant's thunder for later, but they like to really draw out the reveal of something in a very dramatic way. So when we do get Boba Fett's ship coming out of there, it's going to be dramatic. And there's going to be lots of drums, and it's going to be drawn out, and it's going to be
Bomar monks just playing drums.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But we go right back into the throne room in this episode.
Yeah.
At the start, and what a quality scene! Like, what an incredible scene where they're trying to get this assassin of the Order of the Night Wind to speak about who hired him, and
I just made some Night Wind.
And I was going to say, can we talk about Night Wind, or should we just leave it alone and not address it?
I mean, I think we're all guilty of Night Wind. I think that's just the human one of our greatest flaws.
Morning Wind is kind of the worst.
I've been elbowed a couple times because of Night Wind.
I mean, wait. So I mean, this is kind of deep inside baseball here, but the Death Stick character from like the comics kind of looks like.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
I was like, it's going to be revealed he's Crimson Dawn, but then they called him Nightwind. But it's not unrealistic to think that Crimson Dawn contracted Nightwind. Contracted Nightwind from like too many Miller Lights.
You never want to be assailed by Nightwind. Like, that is never the best option.
That's
but anyways,
the character's Paul Darnell, and I want to find him because like he was like so menacing looking until he starts talking when he gets thrown in the Rancor pit, and then he sounds like some guy from The Office, and I was like, what? Okay,
I am so.
If you will not speak, you have no need for your head. And like, Gamorrean's like,
it's the mayor. It's the mayor.
Yeah. That was kind of classic Western though, where they just the breaking, the complete breaking of the kind of the townie.
I love the Fennec Shand, Boba Fett bad cop and slightly lesser bad cop.
Oh, it's like Michael Corleone and Robert Duvall. Like
totally.
Like and Fennec Shand is the consigliere.
It's great.
It's perfect. I love this dynamic.
Yeah,
it's really fun. I noticed on my second watching of this that when Fennec Shand hits the like Rancor trap, the Gamorrean guard sprints up front.
I didn't notice that. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, I don't want to
just like sprints, like yay.
Yeah, well, we know what happened to his brother.
Exactly. It, fool me once, shame on me. But that was great. It was a good bit, and I was like, oh yeah, Luke Skywalker killed that Rancor, so I guess Bib Fortuna didn't get a new one yet.
Yeah, did you at all? Did you? I did. Did you think we were going to get another Rancor? I was sitting there, and I love that we didn't, but I was sitting there going, did they get another one? Did they get another one?
Right.
And then
I didn't think they.
I wanted
do
to
it
see
because,
one really bad.
Yeah.
The lighting, it was a little too bright.
Yeah.
Like tonally, it didn't feel like there would be a Rancor there.
It just played perfectly. I figured that's what was going to happen, but I was like, did they? Could they? You know, it was just enough of a tease.
They need to get another Rancor. What's the over/under on the if we see a Rancor in that pit before the end of the series?
I mean, I don't know. All
2 to
bets are
1,
off because
5 to 1.
Because they did stuff in this episode that I did not think was going to happen. So I think we're going to get. I think we're going to get Rancors. I think we're going to get every character you've ever wanted.
I don't know. I was pretty
4.
on the money for a specific reveal.
Shall we go there?
I mean, we can't skip Mach Shez though. Like we can't skip the mayors.
No, yeah, we definitely can't.
Yeah, so he gets there. We got the hipster like front desk clerk, which was actually might have one of my favorite parts of it.
It's
too.
more comedic after every viewing, I have to say.
Yeah, played by Galen Howard. I also want to find out who that dude is because like I feel like it's important.
I love the underlings in this show. It's my favorite thing already. Like that character, the Twi'lek character. I just like give me more of these like just the day-to-day people in the criminal organizations. You're like, ugh, I gotta go and work for my boss again.
Yeah, the major domo was like, he was like full like Brant in this. If you're a Big Lebowski
yes,
fan.
it's very like, Brant.
This award is not given well every year, but that's the first lady when she was yes the the first lady, not of California, of the United States. Sorry, that's a very bad Philip Seymour Hoffman impression, but yes, he was fantastic. Then we get in there, and then some dialogue, pretty satisfying dialogue in that room.
Oh, I think fantastic dialogue in this room. I think he says like, I am not the fool, Mach Shez, and those who thought otherwise no longer draw breath. Like I thought that line was just perfect. Like some of these lines that Tamara Morrison's delivering. I think Tamara Morrison is what's making this show so incredibly fun to watch. Like it's just elevating it to another level. And for me, it's like a cut above Mando, just because it feels like almost everything Boba Fett says is almost like historic. Like it's so iconic. His voice is so iconic. Like the world building depends on his image and his persona in such a major way that like just whatever that character does, just it's gonna echo, throughout the history.
And I mean, again, you can't understate the weight of the task on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And I watch this every time and I'm like, this is not I had no idea who Boba Fett was before this show. In reality, when you think about it,
right?
You can see notions, and I'm loving what they're doing, what he's doing with this, because it still seems true to that character you see for all of like 30 seconds in Star Wars movies.
Right.
But man, I am utterly impressed every time with him. They're using him perfectly. He's so good with that character.
Incredible. And
so
then
I was
the lore infused dialogue is just bringing it to another level.
Bring it. I was going to ask you, Adam, because
the Gumta, you're sweating like a Gumta on Mustafar. Like, yes, give me more lines like that from Boba Fett. It sounds so good.
I was going to ask you, Adam, because Grant and I talked about it before, but what do you think as far as Boba Fett out of the helmet? Is he still performing like Boba Fett under the helmet?
No, I think I don't necessarily feel the same way. Like he takes on a persona with that helmet, and it's what I love about it is like
episode.
I'm enjoying both Boba Fett's we're getting, but like when he puts on that helmet, he moves and reacts and acts just like however many minutes we get him in the 2 movies we get him in. Right. Like it feels like that Boba Fett, and then when his helmet's off, he's kind of
a dude.
He kind of hangs on the words a little longer when the helmet's on, and sounds a little bit more sinister. It's beautiful what Tamara Morrison's doing, because when he takes the helmet off, there's a little bit of it's a little bit more of a noble, chivalrous sort of knightly character, like leader. But when the helmet's on, it feels pretty
all business,
dangerous.
Old.
Yeah,
everything he says feels like there's a threat underneath it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is who we know him to be, because that's all we ever saw him in the movies, right? And so it makes sense that you have that rule. Probably the writers have that rule. Is like helmet on, we borrow from the movies. Helmet off, we can create this character a little more.
So I listened to it like with some focus on this one, and like this time through, and Yeah, he's definitely still a man of few words, but yeah, I would totally agree he's a different guy, and that stands in total contrast to the Mandalorian, where I mean we don't see Din Djarin without his helmet much, but when he does, it still looks like he has his helmet on, and like that's a great trick to do as well.
Yeah.
So rad. So then he heads off to the bar, unless there was anything else. Mark Shaiz, you want?
No, I think that final line. I guess the final line to highlight is Mark Shaiz tells Boba, running a family is more complicated than bounty hunting, and that's kind of critical right there. And obviously,
he's not wrong.
We should mention that Mark Shaiz has one of his bodyguards shoot the assassin of the Night Wind, kill the wind. Yeah, that guy gets taken out real quick before that character can really explain the how he was hired, who he's working for exactly, and if he was affiliated with the mayor in any way. So that felt kind of deceitful. Like that felt. There's a lot more storytelling I think that's going to go on with Mark Shaiz. I don't trust him. I don't think you're meant to trust him as a character. His voice felt kind of hushed and it felt deceptive from the moment. There's a lot to read into that situation.
Yeah, Mark Shaiz isn't going to just roll over. He still feels like he has Boba Fett exactly where he wants him.
And that's the thing. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, all the way to the end for a second. Not the end of the episode, but the end of my judgments, where I'm like, we had talked a bit about after episode 1, how long are we going to be on Tatooine? And I was I'm like, let's get off of Tatooine as soon as possible. And now I'm like, let's stay on Tatooine forever and ever, because they really are building out this world, the underworld, in a way that I'm like, I turned to Carly, I'm like, we may not leave Tatooine all 7 episodes.
I love this new lens on family. Like this episode called Tribes of Tatooine. It's showing the kind of close-knit bonds of the Hutts, the Tuskens, and then in Boba's only family, Jango Fett, in these flashbacks, kind of figuring out where he lies and how he thinks about family. And then obviously him and Fennec Shand are growing to be a family and building a crime family of some kind here. So there's a new angle. I think there's a new lens, new angle on the whole family theme in Star Wars, and I like that a lot.
Well, why don't we get there? I think it's time for a victory lap.
Yep. Yeah.
I think Grant has.
I called
earned
multiple. There's multiple things I called here, guys. So I said it would only be organic if a Hutt came into the picture here.
Yeah,
like
he did many times.
He's obviously moving in on Jabba's territory. Obviously, the Hutts are a very powerful crime syndicate, still operating at large in Hutt space. They have a huge, swath of the galaxy that's under their control. It's only fitting that characters related to Jabba come into the picture, and that's exactly what we got in this episode. And to stunning effect, honestly, like Boba and Fennec go to Garsa Fwip's sanctuary. And they talk to her for a hot minute, and you get some great dialogue here where she says, "Oh, you haven't heard? The twins have laid claim to their late cousin's bequest." And like you're like, "Oh, Jabba, ba-bing, here we go."
Here we go.
I said at that moment to Carly, Grant must be so happy. Right? The second that line happened, you started.
And then you get Boba Fett's absolute money line, which is, the twins are too preoccupied with the debauchery on Nal Hutta to boss and ambitions on Tatooine. And you're like, what? That line was like Palpatine level delicious.
Yeah.
And it's coming from Boba Fett. And so I'm like, okay, they found the voice for Boba Fett. They're nailing it. That was incredible.
Can I take the next? Can I take the next reveal?
Go. Next,
please.
This is his lap. I'm just saying.
We're not even at the. I didn't want to. I was just warming us up for the reveal, but okay, yeah.
I held my tongue for so long because I literally stood up from the couch and cheered and yelled, and Carly stared at me like, "What are you doing?" Because I've never reacted that way to anything in a Star Wars show before.
Really? Not even Luke?
No, not even Luke. Because Luke, I was more dumbfounded by. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, could it be? Is it really? You know what I mean? Like, I was so enraptured by that moment. I couldn't.
Me too. It felt holy, like when the X-wing
exactly.
showed up. I was like, it was really the X-wing moment. They really got me, and then I came out of it kind of when it started getting over the top. But like, because the X-wing got me good. I was like, oh my god.
To me, this is my own personal Baby Yoda moment, because you get the twins revealed, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then like that's the big reveal, right? And then they have another moment of just like,
Yes.
and I didn't even know it was a Wookiee, but and I saw the Wookiee,
Oh boy.
Such
and I'm like,
a good reveal.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, is it? Could it be? Because I'm like, could just be a regular Wookiee, right? And then the second they showed him in all of his glory, I'm like, that's Black Chrysanthemum. And I'm like, and
Yes.
Carly just like, and that's why I stood up and cheered. She's like, it's a Wookiee. I'm like, no.
No.
The most badass Wookiee.
It's the
to
best
ever
Wookiee ever
Wookiee.
next to Chewbacca. And I'm like, and it also means, because that in my mind, I went, Dr. Aphra.
Oh, here it comes.
Oh, okay.
Getting live action Dr. Aphra, because we're pulling from that universe now and putting him on screen. It's gonna happen. I'm calling it.
There is some. I mean, Grant brought up a point. So it does look a lot like Black K. Black
No,
Chrysanthemum.
it is. It is.
It's on
actually.
Wikipedia. It is
It is.
canon.
Yep.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
If
okay.
you
canon.
go to his, here's how official it is. If you go to his webpage, it is the picture from the show.
Yeah.
It is no longer even.
Oh,
cartoon.
so it's real.
It's
That's Black
real.
K.
That is Black. That's yeah.
So
I
Black
have to-
Chrysanthemum has a storied past. I mean, he worked for the Hutts.
Mhm.
He worked with Aphra. He's fought in gladiator rings, obviously.
Yeah.
Fought against his own kind, which I think is the most really. I think they might delve into that, and it's going to be really sad. But
He's an evil Chewbacca, like a truly,
it's-
but like more developed than Chewbacca. Like totally, Garden of Forking Pass has always been a terrible,
But
like, mean
fearsome warrior.
fearsome.
Maybe one of the
Yeah.
toughest, I think,
with
fighters out in the
with a
galaxy.
blaster the size of, like, I don't know, a skyscraper that he's holding. It's like,
Yeah. I've never seen a
eat
blaster
Black.
like that before either.
No.
That looked new. That looked brand new design, honestly.
Similar to the Luke moment when the episode was over, I had to rewind to make sure that it actually happened,
Yeah, you're like, did this just happen?
because
right
I'm
now?
like, this is a fever dream. This is Adam's fever dream.
But it's
Because
also fitting, right?
it
Given
is.
Boba's
It makes sense.
history and
Yep.
the lore surrounding Boba with the Wookiee braids that used to adorn his costume.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that
it's kind of full
costume.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a full circleness to that.
And he looked so good. That
Yeah.
costume was
Get
awesome.
on.
Yeah, it was great.
And it just, the fact that we get like 15 seconds of him, like he just shows up, stares him down, and then turns around with the
But
shirt, like,
you do get another incredible line from Boba
yeah.
Fett upon that reveal, where he says,
Oh,
you can bring as many gladiators as you want, but these are not the death pits of Dur, and I am not a sleeping Trandoshan guard. And that's steeped in lore.
Cold.
Again, it's
Yep.
another lore-infused dialogue exchange. That's, if you are a diehard, you know, and you watch Clone Wars, you kind of know the Wookiee Trandoshan relationship and
Mm-hmm.
how far that goes back, and how bloody and just disturbing that relationship is, and the hunting and the animosity. It's really dark. So
I mean, it really speaks to this relation and like how out of his depth Boba Fett is. Like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
knows, like, his advantage is going to be he knows all these assassins and mercenaries. Like, he knows the VIP list of every assassin and mercenary in the galaxy, probably, and so he knows like the full backstory of Black Chrysanthemum. But I don't know how they're going to turn him into a Don, like how they're going to turn him into a proper daimyo, like, because he looks so confounded and befuddled. He's just like, no idea what he's doing, like Succession level, like,
Yeah.
idiocy, trying to figure out how to really like run a criminal syndicate. And he can't even like run a town, let alone a planet, let alone, what the Hutts do, which is like system wide, galaxy wide.
I disagree. I think he's holding his own. Like, I think that's what
Yeah.
this episode showed in a major way, is he is untrusting of everybody. There's nobody that
Right.
Boba trusts.
Yeah.
And so he's holding his own. Someone's going to make a move. He's obviously going to fight Black Chrysanthemum at some
Yeah.
point in this season.
Guys, I also think Boba Fett's a disruptor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait, what? He's not incremental change. He's disruptive
No,
change?
he's going to disrupt the system. No, but in all seriousness, I feel like that's part of it, is like his ignorance is actually going to play to his favor in terms of like,
Right.
well, this is dumb. Why are we doing it this way? Let's do it this other way. Like, I think he's going to kind of change the game. Think outside the box.
I think Ben and I both, I think before we recorded, talked about having some pretty wild out there theories that will not happen, but like this episode did provoke some imaginings of where this could go if you really read into some of the visuals that they focus on, especially in the later scenes.
Oh yeah,
We'll get there. We have some wild theories that are pretty fun about where this thing could go.
We still haven't gotten to the lap yet, though. Can we finally get to the main event here?
Oh, the twins? Yeah, the twins. So we get like these Hutts that just got back from spring break. Like they've got the piercings and the neck tats to show.
The puka shells.
And they're being carried. No way those people are carrying them.
Oh,
No.
it's great.
So you get these loud drums and then two giant Hutt silhouettes just appear. And I don't know about you guys, but I just had the widest grin of my life. I was
Absolutely
ecstatic. I was over the moon.
I loved how it bowed in the middle. And Jenny definitely was like, she's like, when they're talking about the litters, I was like, certainly they didn't carry a Hutt around. And then they saw them carrying two in like a yin yang pattern. And it was like the like hats off to the actors too, the like extras that were like carrying the litter, because they were like in all the scenes, you see their face and they're like, they're just dying. They're dying. And I'm like, it's a good bit. It's a good bit.
It was set up perfectly in the first episode because Fennec and Boba are walking around Mos Espa, and she's like, you should be carried around the streets like a proper daimyo, like the people like this is what the people are used to. And then Boba's like, I'm not being carried around the streets like a useless noble. And then you get this scene where these two Hutts are being carried around the streets, by all these servants, and it's. And they're useless. It seems like, they're not going to act. They're going to have their bodyguard, their muscle, act.
Yeah.
And great characters. I don't think we get their names. I don't think we get the voice actors behind them. It was very veiled in mystery upon like what the kind of behind the scenes is to these Hutts. But twins, brother and sister. The brother seems to be the one that speaks for them, while the sister's kind of like whispering, like Grima worm tonguing, kind of like at his side, and he's also very like they're very like vengeful. If one of them's feelings is hurt, the other one will act against them. But they seem sensitive. But they turn around right away. I mean, like Boba Fett pretty much rebuffs them pretty quickly. Like it's
and we get a great line of dialogue from Fennec Shan just being like, well, we can't kill them, we need permission first.
That's right.
Like, okay, because it's sort of like, well, why isn't this on? I mean, honestly, I feel like the two of them, Fennec and Boba, could take out Black K together. And
Black K brought a level of threat that I have not felt in a Star Wars film in a long. I'm
just talking like headcanon.
In a long
use
time.
a flamethrower.
I'm terrified of that character, and I can't wait to see that character.
He's gonna like rip someone in half.
I really hope you see Boba like thrown through a wall. Like
and don't forget we do have Trandoshans running around too.
Trandoshans are beautiful in this series. But they look gorgeous. The makeup applications, unreal. It's
they're
beautiful.
much better this season. But they're like Trandoshan nobles. I wish they were a little more menacing. Like I want to see the foot prosthetics like sticking out underneath the under the things and the claws. And
I mean, what do you think the odds are we get a Bosk reveal from the Trandoshans?
Everything's on the table
after Black Prince.
So we might have a Boba Fett Bosk Black K.
It would be cool if Boba calls in some muscle to help.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we have like protagonist Bosk, which would be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
And he should be like all CG though. I think like except when he's just like standing around, but like in action, I want to see like CG Bosk jumping like off the sides of buildings and like raking people's faces and doing crazy stuff.
I would be surprised if we get that right. They did that with the Frog Lady in the Mando second episode of the second season, right? They had her like all CG. Prosthetics or what, and then CG when they had to make her move. Speaking of CG, what do we think of the twins? Because they were I think fully CG.
I thought they looked great.
Looked great,
right?
Fantastic.
I was very impressed with that use of CG. I was a little gun shy after Jabba.
Well, you look like they're secretly buffing up all the visual effects in all the original trilogy movies. They get better every time you watch them. Like
Yeah.
they don't tell anyone anymore. They're just doing it. They're just
So they
making
just
everything
smooth
look
it out every release, re-release. And
Well,
even
like
I think
that's
they've done
so
it
much
on-
material to like use and then throw out. Like
Yeah.
for a practical, like CG is
Yeah.
almost the more sustainable way to do that character.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad they went CG.
I'm okay with it. Yeah. I
They're
was
doing
hoping
a great job with practical in this show.
They
Though.
are.
I had my
They
doubts.
are,
Like
yeah.
Twi'leks, it's sort of like, all right, you're clearly wearing foam doomers on your head, bouncing around, and it's sort of like lame. But the Ithorian looked perfect.
Yep.
And yeah, the Trandoshans look a lot better. There was an Aqualish that looked great. Like it's a
really
good call. They're doing a good mix, but like I don't know. After seeing like the Eclipse trailer, I'm like,
I mean,
I
and
wouldn't hate a
Pike,
fully CG thing.
Pike's just being the Spacing Guild from Dune, just
Yeah, yeah. It's
like
a
they're
little
like,
silly.
all right, let's just own
So-
it. Yeah.
That's a good point. Should we move to the second episode of this episode?
Yeah, and
Because-
Yes, let's go to the Lawrence Arabia Dances with Wolves portion of this.
Grant via text kind of made a couple points of like it's interesting how they're using the flashback because I with you, Grant, where I was shocked. Like we literally spend the rest of this episode. So the first, I'm on it right now.
It's
Like
the first third. It's 1/3, 2/3.
Yeah, the first exactly.
yeah.
So the first 14 minutes of this episode is just the build up, and then the second 28 minutes is just a flashback. Not just a flashback, spent in a flashback. Because man,
Amazing.
what a flashback do we get?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it might be economic because going to different planets is just lots of computer generated environments that they don't have, or that this is just that they want to create a lot of backstory for Boba Fett and career. But my feeling is that you might be able to collapse that story and keep the same weight. I think there's a lot of weight there, and I really like the weight that's there and how much he learned and how much he changed with the Tusken Raiders. But I think you could collapse that slightly, and you could explore other areas at the same time and do a lot of multifaceted work. But it's good to go there though, because Star Wars is mythological, and this is the spiritual, mythological, inward journey that I think is the heart of Star Wars in a lot of ways, and so it's smart to also capitalize on it. So I can see both sides, but I would have maybe paced this differently. But that's just my own subjective.
No, I see where you're coming from, and I think you're right. But man, do I love how long they will take with him practicing the hold on the gaffy stick. Like I'm watching it right now. It is like 4 minutes, and I'm like, yes, like.
They're slow playing.
I'm holding
it.
it right. I'm holding it just like you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've memorized every scene. I love this.
Yeah.
I love it. I just feel like it's fascinating. I'm just interested in the structure more than anything. I find it like compelling that they really want to dive into what happened after the Sarlacc pit and the formative stuff. His journey just after that with the tribes and the chieftain, the Tusken warrior, and the kid. Great characters.
Yeah, they're fantastic characters. We mentioned it last week, like how much are we gonna, get of these flashbacks? But I mean, and we mentioned that he's got 6 years to make up right here until he gets to Book of Boba Fett. So essentially current timeline. So we could be seeing the Tuskens for the rest of the season.
I think the only problem I have with this is you kind of know where it ends, this story. And so it's got that Star Wars problem where the modern Star Wars problem where it's you kind of know the result of the story, where it's he has to get his armor back. We're already post armor in the present day story. So when you do get these flashbacks of Jango's helmet, like I'm reading into it like in a very deep way and trying to extrapolate all the information I can from just seeing these flashbacks of Camino and the helmet and what that all means. But I have to think it's the Occam's razor. It's obviously he's just going to get his armor back. Like it's just about getting the armor back. And I'm reading into it like, oh, is there like a secret story involving Jango that he's gonna hunt for later? Is there some is he gonna search for like his lineage and find some secret truth about how he could be connected to the Mandalorians? And there's again, I'll just jump into it right now. It's like I have a small theory here that like in in the Mandalorian when he first confronts like Bo-Katan and Costco Reeves. Costco Reeves is like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not a Mandalorian. Like, you're not a Mandalorian. And it's like a pretty big story beat that a lot of fans like latched onto. And they were like, well, yeah, he's not a Mandalorian. And some fans were like, yeah, he never was a Mandalorian. And then some fans were like, well, actually, I read the Dark Horse comics and like he kind of was a Mandalorian. And like he was a foundling, or Django was a foundling, and da-da-da. And like, so everyone had this coming from different angles.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me because like this show has the ability to maybe dive into that a little bit, and given how much it's dived into Tusken culture, I wouldn't be surprised if it dives into the armor and his father and that legacy, given how often we see it in the flashbacks. But I think again I'm reading into it too much, and I think that it just has to deal with just retrieving the armor.
I think I love it. I think you are reading in too much. I think what's going to happen is I think this is Godfather, and just when I was out, they pulled me right back in. So I think what's going to happen is we have to figure out like why does he want to be daimyo of Mos Espa, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So he's clearly becoming a very important part of this tribe. I mean, there's so much parallel between like Old West and Native Americans, and like I was just thinking of that scene when the train is going by and they're just shooting at the Tusken Raiders. It just feels like scenes out of others, but it's just so I think at the end it's just going to be like my theory is, and it's not very creative, so hopefully I'm wrong, but they're just all going to get wiped out. He can't stop it. He realizes that he needs to seek power to try to stop things like this from happening, and that's why he wants to take over the daimyo, right? Like this tribe is not going to last.
That makes perfect sense because he wants to rule with respect.
I was thinking the same thing after this. I was like, oh man, these guys, like, because he's ingratiating with them and he's becoming one of them, and like he cares about the Tuskens. But I was just like, nah, like the only way he would leave them is if they all die, which is like really sad.
But who massacres the Tuskens?
The Red Key Raiders, or who?
I mean, the Red Key Raiders are the Pikes. The Pikes could come back, and they're going to come back in force. And I mean, this Gambit, they lost a lot of Tuskens in this Gambit as well. People got shot and run over and stuff. Maybe not a lot, but they lost some.
No, they lost quite a few. Yeah, there was.
Yeah, I mean, a couple people got sniped off the hill. Like, there's not a lot of
Bantha down. I like wrote all caps in my notes.
Bantha down. Or Banthas.
Freaking out when I saw Bantha get shot.
Also,
and I cried a little bit when the
yeah.
I will say, I just want to jump ahead to something because it's on the screen now. But when he goes and confronts we're calling them Red Key Raiders. They might not be, but whatever.
Ben has a great theory on what the soup gang, who the soup gang could be.
Go for it.
Do I? What did I say they were? Oh, yeah. Actually, I thought they might be cronies for the twins. I thought that logo on the side could be like
twin huts.
Twin huts.
Ooh, I think you're onto something there, Ben.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I think that makes a ton of sense.
But they could just be. That could be like a weird new
could just be their
signature.
Yeah.
Or it could be
There's room. Those are just the 5 families. There's other families.
How great was that scene where Boba Fett just racks those swoop gang?
Crushes a cocktail and leaves.
So let me tell this from the perspective of the patrons.
Okay.
So these gangs were menacing people, and then this guy in his underwear came in, killed a ton of people, had a drink, and just left.
Yeah. like for no reason, apparently.
This guy just wrecked shop in his underwear. It's a very Terminator like scene. Like just Terminator comes in, kills everyone, and leaves.
I mean, it's a sick body. I can't get enough of the
jumpsuit. It's a lot.
The Boba jumpsuit with the front thigh pocket.
The shoes, I think, are the best part. I think the boots are. I think Boba's shoes. Where are those? Can you buy those at Nike? Is there a deal?
They're Clark Wallabies.
Oh, they're so dope. Like I need those so badly. There's a shot of him walking in. I think.
Clark's Boston-based company. They make the Wallabies. They've been making them since the '60s. I think they're
unreal shoe wear in this episode. I just haven't really taken the time to notice. They're actually on the action figure behind me, but God, yeah, just lots of the long underwear, which is so Western in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it does. It's Unforgiven. It's epic. I like it a lot.
So that bar scene was amazing. The male, patron at the bar. I loved his 70s hair. That was fantastic. And Yeah, I don't know. He looked like a real like OT character, so I thought that was kind of great.
That felt like the OT moment cut from A New Hope. Honestly, that felt like if that was in A New Hope, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
that's Jenny called him poor man's Han Solo.
like pre Obi
Totally.
Luke, just for like a beat. Like, what is that?
Yeah, when keeping it real goes wrong.
Anyways, yeah. So after that fight, he takes all their bikes, their swoop bikes, their speeder bikes, to the Tuscans. Immediately gives it to the chief as like a gift. This is an incredible bit. Basically, all the Tuscans start dismantling the speeder bikes. Instantaneously. Yeah,
it was a great bit.
The chieftain's a great character. I'm a really big fan of the chief.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, no lines really. Just stands there looking awesome, and but you're starting to feel for this guy. Like it's like the story is being told around him for him about what kind of like.
This is actually super successful because of the Tusken Raider. I think opera here. There's like a real like story here with the Tusken family.
Yeah, that's the lore. It's like not Jedi-ness or it's like any of the Force. It's like you're in just deep in the lore of one culture of one like race of creature and the Tuskens, and it's like like fascinating. That's what I love.
The water bond. You make your Chris knife. Like it's I love Tuskens.
Yeah, they are doing such a good job of differentiating this from the Mandalorian, right? Which is just like new culture, new character every week, and this is like, nope, we are spending a lot of time with Raiders. Yeah,
I know it's making the like time with Tusken Raiders in Mandalorian seem perfunctory. And because like now we're in it, but this is like my dream for Star Wars, and why I love it is because you can just drill down into one culture and like have a whole story and like mythos around like one species, and it's going to be dynamic and beautiful and connected to the galaxy at large. And this is what this episode did in a beautiful and awesome way.
This episode felt sacred in that regard. Like the learning about the Tuskens, learning about the creation of the Gaffy stick, what goes into that.
It's no small
what it makes to be a warrior, a Tusken warrior. I was like, wow, like this is very close to Jedi training in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it's very mythological.
You have to actually be the Lizard King.
Yeah. It was very the doors. Like I was Jim Morrison. Spirit Quest.
That was such a good scene too. He's like, I'm so sorry. I think I swallowed it. Like he has no idea of what he's doing.
I will. Right? He's like, I will let it guide me or whatever. Or I was like, I will
cool.
help it as it guides me or something. You know, whatever. He's just trying to accept it in some nice way, and then he just shoots up.
Thanks.
So like MIB way ever. I was like, wow, that was comedic.
Yeah, it was hilarious and great. And the scene, so the acid flashback lizard acid trip was amazing in the sands of Tatooine. Like it was just so great. A lot of imagery. So we give like sand desert imagery in front of wave like ocean imagery.
Yep.
And so there's one line that I wanted to pull out, and it was from the chief. Like before, he's like, he was talking about there's like two different kinds of Tuskens. He said there's many different kinds of Tuskens, like tribes of Tuskens, right? And he's like, some are fighters. He's like, we hide. Like that's what we do, which is like, big omission. But he's like, but he said it's been this way since the oceans dried up on Tatooine.
Yeah.
So as much as I love Camino and I want to go back there, I want to live there. Actually, we've already had that episode. I think the oceans that we see aren't the oceans of Camino, but they're the oceans of Tatooine.
Oh,
interesting.
Deep insight.
Yeah.
Like that's what they see when you go on that trip.
Skip ahead too much because I want to get back to the Spirit Quest because it is my favorite part, I think, of the episode.
Okay. Am I going too far? Do you want to do?
We're going too far. We're doing the speeder bike training because.
Okay, right. Yeah, we missed the whole train part.
All-time great comedy here from Morrison. Couldn't ask for a funnier scene.
The speeder bike goes
Basically,
backwards, like
He's
first.
trying to show them how to ride the speeder bike. He's like a bantha, and like
Yeah,
shaking his hands up and down. And it was
Yeah.
degraded. It's now a GIF. It's everywhere. It's incredible. It's iconic. And it's great because then they start learning and they're trying to jump from speeder bike, to speeder bike, and they miss, and one gets run over. It's just great physical comedy.
Yeah, it's super funny. Yeah.
I just didn't want to skip over that beat. So good. And then there's a train heist, but it's a pretty conventional train heist, except it's worth it because there's a conductor droid that is the possibly in the my top 10 favorite droids of all time.
Right.
Yep.
Instantly. I was like, this droid is iconic. And it feels very like turn of the century, like a railroad. Like it's like it's like there's all the bells and whistles of like a classic steam engine, like coal powered train. Like it's got all the same controls and wheels and devices, and
mixed in like seamlessly with pod racing technology.
It's hilarious.
True. And the comedy beat where the conductor jumps out and rolls and scuttles away is very Lucas prequel era comedy, but it works to the point where Carly chuckled. And I went, "Oh, that works because that is prequel comedy," and it got Carly. So I'm like, "All right, maybe I can get her to watch the prequels again."
It makes no sense. It's the prequel.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to kill the droid, but and that's why it was funny where it's just like,
that droid was activated. So there's and another gag here that's incredible is the boost kind of gag.
Yeah.
That bit that keeps happening over and over again where
it's
the
very video
conductor is like
funny.
overpowering the boost and the massive hyperdrive engine or whatever is firing back on people.
And the chief or warrior bit where with the popping up and popping down and
she jumps into the train and immediately like a pike falls out the window, just gets like yeeted.
And it's that whole scene just shows how badass she is, but is also so funny. Like the comedy beats on it. I was really laughing at that.
Which is great. That's an accomplishment too, because it was like it's not on like the stagecoach scene in episode 2 of the first season of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That
sorry,
Yura did like that. Like that was a great one too. But like this is like that. But yeah, same sort of idea, but also equally like super funny in how they execute it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention that the music, the score for the droid was fantastic. It was like a really fun little playful thing that they did when you're in the cockpit of that. I tried to like be more mindful of the score going through, and that was a great beat.
Yeah, so that train heist, and then after the train heist, obviously he gets gifted the lizard and the spice, the melange in the tent. And starts his spirit journey and goes across the desert. Boba Fett goes on a spirit quest in this episode.
Yep.
Yeah, epic. And he's like he flashes back to a lot of different things in there. Definitely he's like back in the Sarlacc pit. I'm glad they like haven't forgotten about that.
Yeah, they kept that going. That's great.
Yeah. Breaks through the branches. Like there's eyes in the trees.
Yeah.
Which in the concept art it was Jawas, which is kind of interesting. But,
interesting. I didn't catch that. Yeah.
It's kind of like Jennifer Lopez in The Cell for a second. He finds like the one tree in the desert.
Right.
And
on our Daniel Logan watch.
Yes.
Second Daniel Logan.
Wait, is that new footage where young Boba runs across the road? That's gorgeous.
It's new. It's clearly a stunt or clearly a double in the back, and then when they show the reflection, it looks really screen grabbed from episode 2, but it works. It's a dream state, so it works.
Yeah, so it's a great scene and just beautiful. Again, it was like, hey, so even if he doesn't go to Kamino, it's like we're 2 for 2 on seeing Kamino in these episodes, and I think that's really pretty neat.
Yeah,
even if we have to see it in flashbacks, that's pretty
right. Well, also, this is what I love. So we are now having a drug trip in a flashback.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a dream, which I love. Like, I'm like, it's a dream within a dream.
Right.
But I do love that. I mean, again, second, and Grant, you had mentioned this earlier, second Django moment, right? In terms of like, this is the second episode in a row where we've had him fixated on his father.
Again, the helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the armor yet, so you got to think we already know where this motivation leads. It's towards the armor.
You don't think
Right.
it's some comment about family?
I'm reading into it too deeply, but I do have a big theory about, yes, I think it is commentary on family, and I think it could get into new information and a new context for the past. Like maybe talk about how Django was the ideal warrior for the cloning program, and
Yeah.
maybe he is supposed to be Mandalore. Maybe Boba Fett is Mandalore because he's talking a lot about ruling right now, and they're
Maybe.
looking for someone to take on the Darksaber. He happens to have not kind of been involved with the Bo-Katan and Din Djarin at the end of there. So.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the long game of this series, is that he finds out he's not content just being the daimyo of Mos Espa, right? And he feels like he needs to be more and more for his quote unquote his people, right? The Mandalorians. I don't know.
And if he gets so involved with Tusken culture and adopts the gaffy stick, you'd think his Mandalorian armor, like that's such a sacred part of that culture as well. You'd think he'd at least want to learn about that, I don't know. Like there's part of me that thinks organically he would want to.
And here's another organic thing that could happen, right? If we're right that this group of Tuskens gets wiped out, he might see a connection between that and the Mandalorians getting wiped out, and him seeing an opportunity to go back and save the remaining Mandalorians.
That's a fantastic call. Let's see.
Right.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So we're seeing something here where it's like, I definitely think these flashbacks are going to show us how he has changed. Like, it's not just the surviving the Sarlacc pit. It's this experience after. It's the whole gambit that's going to point him in a new direction. And so we're trying to figure out where that goes. I think that's all good. The one thing that occurred to me when I saw it, when he actually breaks the branch in the tree, to me, I don't know. It struck to me as like he's lived a life of bondage, essentially. Like he's always been not a slave exactly, but sort of his whole life has been preordained, and everything's been decided for him.
Ever trying to replicate his father's path.
Or like the genetic tree of his father's DNA that's in every clone, and himself, he just wants to break free of that.
Right. He's absolutely not an individual, right? He's just another clone. He was born he's a science experiment essentially, but he was like his father's son, and his father had like greater aspirations for him particularly. And Django wasn't in thrall. Like he was a freelancer and he did whatever he wanted, So I'm thinking like, maybe we do learn more about Django, and he can, and he's trying to be more the spirit of what his father wanted him to be, rather than like this never ending hole. I mean, for people that haven't watched Clone Wars, I mean, he spent most of his young years in prison, and, and he was a bounty hunter, and, he was trained to be a bounty hunter like his father and all that sort of stuff. But, so to me, it was like him discovering agency and being like, you know what, I'm not going to follow down the same path just because that's what it is. Like I'm destined for bigger than this.
Totally.
That was my thought with it. And rather than, I don't know. I mean, family's certainly a part of that. Grant, that's what, like what you were saying. Because he's like looking back at himself and what is my family and what is my tribe and where do I come from? But
right.
But we'll see what happens with these Tuskens. But again, it's like he leaves them, and I don't think it's with them, cheering happily with a bunch of technology. It seems like, the chief is like, we hide, and he's like, yeah, but you have technology now, and I can show you, and you can do all these things. And it's like going to be the Icarus thing, where it's like they try to do something too big, and then get destroyed.
Yeah, he's going to coax them out of hiding, and that's going to be their downfall.
So do you guys think that will be the next episode, or we get the fall of?
Maybe.
No, I think it's going to be like episode 7. I think they're going to long play this out the whole season, and then like season 2, hopefully there is a Boba season 2.
Can they tie it to the present day story? Can that maybe Tusken's been wiped out by the Hutts or by You know,
Yeah, I think
pikes or something. The pikes actually make sense at this point, given
Right.
that
Well, I
there's
really
kind of
think the
they've
Pikes
created
might be their
a-
undoing because they're not going to just be like, okay, here's our like money. Like that's not the Pikes. The Pikes will come and kill you.
Speaking of pikes, is this the first time in live action we've seen pikes without their helmets on?
I think they
Yes,
take
I think so.
I don't know. There might be one in Solo where
Was there?
the
Yeah.
mask folds back and they like smoke some spice or something.
I can't remember because I remember there's the one where they're drinking or they're smoking pipe, but they're doing it through the tubes in their
It certainly
helmet.
felt new.
Yeah, I was like,
doing
oh,
it.
we're seeing pike because I think we've seen them in the cartoons, but I'm like, that's the first time I remember and they actually have them like take the helmet off. But that was
I
awesome.
love that they did that. I love that they did it. It was like, I mean, it was definitely like foam rubber mask, like whatever, but
Yeah.
it was fun. They made it look
Star Wars.
good, and it's like Star Wars. Yeah.
But I like this idea that it could be. Well, I mean, the pikes are usually they're running spice for the Hutts, right? Like they're just spice runners. So I
Right,
think
it's got to be
all
going
be
to
right.
Nal Hutta and
Yeah.
Nar Shaddaa and those crime worlds.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to think it was the pikes and the.
What if the
this
pikes
speeder gang.
hire Bosk to like take out Boba?
I'm-
Oh, that'd be cool. Or
Yeah.
Forlom and Zuckus, like any of the major
Yeah.
names would be fun.
I hope
Anyone.
so. I hope so.
Anyone?
But I
think
mean,
at
did
the
they
end of the
even
day-
know who that was? Did they even know that was Boba Fett? I thought that the Pike sort of
No.
assumed he was another Tusken Raider.
I think so too. I don't think that's going to be connected, but I think you're right that they're going to connect these two story arcs. That he's going to discover at some point that the Hutts hired the Pikes, who hired the Red Key Raiders, whoever these are, whoever, or Bosk or whoever to wipe out the Tusken. So I think it's all going to get
Muscle
connected.
or
He's
muscle.
gonna-
Just like next time they hit them, there's like a lot of muscle.
Ugh. So is that where this is going to go? So he can't take on the Hutts without getting permission from, or he can't take on the twins without getting permission from the Hutt Syndicate, right? So what if he finds out that they're behind the slaughter of the Tuskens?
Yeah,
He loses his
that
blank,
has to happen. That has to happen.
kills the
Oh.
twins, and then is on the run from the Hutt Syndicate.
Yeah, could be. I mean, I wonder how the Pikes fit in there. You know, I feel like the Pikes are just going to squash that tribe like a bug.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they'll come in with like ships and just be like,
I mean, they'll hire people. They're not really. They seem like drug runners, right? They don't seem
right. They
Yeah.
have like people to do their dirty work.
But if they're operating on Tatooine, they're operating on Tatooine for the Hutts.
Well, we
Yes.
recently saw them in the Bad Batch, so
Yeah.
you know, they sort of showed how the Pikes flex.
But the deserts are also like a inhospitable place. Like the Dune Sea is like only for the most kind of like high in fortitude.
Yeah.
Constitution, like people who can actually survive there. I feel like not a lot of people can survive where the Tuskens dwell. So,
But I mean, if you had a couple starships, you could just strafe that camp a couple times, and everyone would be gone.
I don't know. I think it's like impossible to fight the Tusken Raiders because they can just
Like hide and submerge.
hide and appear again. Yeah, it's like the point, isn't that the point? They're kind of like that. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, they're survivors.
Yeah, survivors.
Yeah.
So this tribe can't get full defeat. Maybe they will all. Maybe it's
I'm just saying, I have a bad feeling about this.
Me too.
It's got to be connected to the twins, right? Like,
I think it's going to lead back to them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be a Black K standoff at some point. I mean, yeah, there's got to be another Hut slaying involved there, or not. I mean, that's the thing. This is one of those great shows where we don't really know where this is going. So he could get driven out of Mos Espa and knocked down a peg back to being, you know, a bounty hunter again. But it's kind of interesting. Now I'm like hooked on this sort of, you know, Godfather 2 journey where, you know, like what's going on? How's he going to be this new Dawn?
Well,
this dynamite?
I have a question connected to that, but first, talking about Hut slaying, you have a man with a rocket pack and a giant Hut. How do you not get a scene with a giant Hut getting blown up with a rocket? Just saying.
Oh, man,
How do you avoid that and get like Ghostbuster level covered?
Yeah,
in
slimed. Oh,
Yeah.
that'd
Now,
be
the
awesome.
more serious question is,
I think they have to eat it, and he has to have like the remote control or something.
Yeah,
And
it's-
he's like, you
they-
just ate like a thermal detonator or something.
like
He's
that.
just like, yeah, like, Boba has to like mess with them. Boba has
Yeah.
to be like, have the upper hand for a
I like it. They'll think
They're
they're
like,
one of
"Oh."
the frog things or eat. They
Yeah,
eat. They're actually
yeah, because
a detonator.
because we gotta play on what they eat.
Oh man.
So my question related to Godfather 2 or just Godfather in general is, so when Grant, you had made the connection. I think it was Grant. You made the connection of Fennec Shand, being is consigliere, basically, right?
Yeah.
If they're going and they're borrowing from this, who's Fredo?
We're
Who's
doing
gonna
the
We
betray
haven't
him?
met Fredo yet.
Or is Fennec Shand Fredo?
Yeah, because she's always been a lone wolf as well. They're both lone wolves, which is surprising to me. So
Yeah.
the show is
but
it's interesting.
she's like, I think she's ride or die. Fennec Shand
hope
is
so.
ride or die with Boba.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't
I like that
detect a deceitful. He saved her life.
Yeah.
She's like, this guy, I mean, and they're both assassins, really, when you look at it. She seems to really respect him. And I mean, this is
they're scratching each other's backs. Like, I feel like they definitely are helping each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like making a lot of credits.
Boba's the guy, though. Like, he's the guy. And like, Fennec is, in her own right, claims to, is infamous in all the right ways. But I think, Boba's a guy, and if she's on his team, I think she's feeling pretty good about things.
Yeah, I hope so.
She's buying low, and I think she's going to do fine.
Yeah, she's backing the right horse in this race.
Yeah. To mix metaphors thoroughly.
Yeah.
So then this episode ends with Boba bringing the branch. He's basically snapped a branch off that single tree he found in the desert. I think there is another tree in the background of that shot, but he snaps the branch off after being entangled. I don't know if you read into that symbolism at all. They kind of like the tree kind of ensnaring him,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Sarlacc pit and the kind of intercutting between that.
Yeah.
That's why I was thinking like breaking bondage, like he's always been trapped and like put on a rails,
That's a great read. Yeah, so then we get past that scene and he brings that branch that he snapped off back to the tribe.
Yes. And then we get
it's a perfect size. I love this because it like fit my logistical like science side, where I was like, it's actually, that's actually, you could then hew that into, like carve that into the exact gaffy stick we saw, and it fit perfectly. Like
it was great, and we get
mind puzzle
a very long scene of
woodworking scene.
Great woodwork. I loved that woodworking scene.
Yeah,
man, my dad is a diehard woodworker, has been his
No,
life, and I'm like, oh man, when he sees those chisels, he's gonna be so excited.
How badly do you want to make a gaffy stick now?
Yeah.
I'll just send my dad a clip and be like, Dad, this is our next project. And he'll be like, don't
kind
do
of amazing.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's incredible.
I mean, you've had any questions?
They do a dance, a wonderful dance around the
a haka, if you will,
bonfire at the end, kind of and they're using their gaffy sticks, I think, in the dance, incorporating it.
Yep,
really beautiful stuff, and then it kind of ends on that. It's just one of the best endings I've seen for a Star Wars story as well.
Yeah, I caught the music on that too the second time. It's like drums. They used in like the first little bit. They used those yells. I never get tired of the Tusken yell.
It's great.
It's so good.
Never get done with it. And as Jenny said, it's just a donkey braying, but that doesn't matter. Like it's amazing. But they cut it with the drums, so I was like, oh, they could make, like, I wanted them to sing, quote unquote, with the drums, with like that donkey yell, like percussively put in there. It would have been amazing. They did it just in the beginning, and then they used a didgeridoo for the rest of it. It was just like this whoop, that like cool didgeridoo sound with a bunch of and then the strings sweep up and all that. But it was a super powerful scene, and the only way you can cap off 6 minutes of woodworking.
I love how slow this show is going.
Me too.
I would not expect the Boba Fett show of all of the Star Wars shows to be the most introspective, but I think it might be even more than Obi-Wan.
Weirdly dreamlike. It's almost like the Boba Fett show of your dreams, because he is dreaming constantly in his little back to tank.
I can't believe they
You're
went
like,
Dances of
this
with
is so-
Wolves. But
I know they really did. They
It's
went to Lawrence of Arabia,
Yeah.
and with a bounty hunter, though, with like kind of a
yeah,
chaotic neutral, I guess, character.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't even know how to label his lineman anymore. I think he's good now. Like he's honestly like
I don't know.
kind of a man of
Awful
principle.
neutral. I don't know, but I love. There's mostly positive reviews about this show, but there are some very, very angry people on the internet about the show, and I'm
You
laughing
don't
every
say.
time I watch the show because I'm like, oh my god, I can only imagine how much we're like, this is not my Boba Fett. And I'm like, no, because it's good.
I think
Like,
it's perfect.
it's
Actually,
awful.
I think it's nailing Boba Fett. think
I
it's-
agree. I agree.
Every line is perfectly great. When Boba Fett speaks Huttese in this episode, it's
Yeah.
like he's like yes, Baba Didik, and it's like this is my territory. I was like, can I just get a Boba Fett doll that you just pull the string and it just says that? Like, that's all I need, really.
I think, and also like Tamura Morrison's a gift. He's like a treasure
He's such a treasure
of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, the fact that like, I mean, he did a fantastic job in the prequels. Like he was every single clone. And like iconic roles that like prequel memes people are, just like gushing over on the daily. And
I
like,
love how many times we mentioned prequel memes, by the way.
I know
Makes
we
me very happy.
we should get upvotes like or some weird mystery awards that we don't know what they mean.
Right.
But I mean, listen, they're enforced, so I appreciate the prequel memes people. But yeah, I mean, he was just like amazing and all of that. And then like, but now like that he's center stage, he's exponentially better. It's just like the fact that he is speaking parts. He's really doing all this physical acting when he just like stands sometimes. Like he just stands in this like warrior stance. It's awesome. It's fantastic. And his line delivery is fantastic. He's just a treasure.
Yes.
And so, and they're taking advantage of
I
that.
haven't seen him lay down the hammer yet, though. Like when is that going to happen? Like when is he going to bring the ruckus? Like when is that going to happen?
I mean, that bar scene was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think like I want to see present day in full Boba armor. I want to see missiles flying. I want to see like flamethrower going in the rocket pack, flying overhead, just like buzzing people with the flamethrower, and just EE3 like just like letting off bolts. That's what I want. Like in all directions.
Yeah.
Just like a terror.
Don't forget, we're gonna get him fighting a Wookiee at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Like
I'm looking forward to that. That's kind of
I know. The general populace needs a proper introduction to Black Chris Santan. They need to know how terrifying. Like I want to see him like jump like 20 feet like forward and then just like smash something that explodes 30 people. Like he needs to be kinetic and terrifying. Like rip someone.
I wouldn't be surprised if
something like
Black Chris Santan like throws a Gamorrean like across a room.
Yeah, it'll be like something like that. They need to show that like Black K does not play. Like he's tough.
Shirts, let's go.
It's Black K does not play. All right, I'm writing it down.
Yes. All right, perfect. Let's add that to this.
That's great.
Yeah, I can't wait for Santi to get some scenes.
I know.
If you read the Afro comics, you know how prevalent he is in those and how awesome he is.
I mean, so we talked about it, Grant, before, and you were like, "Well, he doesn't have the eye patch," and I was like, "Well, like that's Black K." Like, the armors. It's not exactly like what we had seen in previous things. Maybe as a prosthetic eye, they could do something.
No, it's canon. It is.
No, I'm glad you said that, but I didn't. So I wasn't like emotionally prepared to take the leap to Afra, but
Oh yeah, people now on the internet are eager for Afra, and
oh man,
I am
Afra
too.
live
I'm
action
so on that bandwagon.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if I don't know like that's the Disney like
I think
paradox, right?
I think Afra should have her own show, honestly.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think you introduce her in one of these shows, and that spins her off into her own thing, right? Like I feel like that's the
could they
formula
do a
working with.
proper Afra show like on a Disney like IP? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it's dark. Like,
Sure, but
I think
it's
Afro would
dark
be
for people that haven't read Afro yet.
funny. You could make it really funny, like
yeah,
Guardians.
I think you can go for dark. At the same time, it's still comic book. It's still within the comic rating system. It's not MA comic books, so I think you can still
Okay.
do it and be a little darker. I think they're playing around
Triple
with that.
Zero. Like
The
just
cool thing about Afro is she hangs out with 000, Vader, Black Chrysanthemum. Like she hangs out with some of the toughest characters. Like
dude, the craziest, the decree like twins and like the
yeah. But she's so
Evazan,
she's so intrepid and like outgoing that it's like it's a fun juxtaposition to like the deadly character. It's like it's a great story.
She's
it's a great
bad
idea.
Indiana Jones for people that haven't read it. She's like broke bad Indiana Jones, and it's fantastic. Yeah, I would want to watch that show forever. If that
would be one of the better shows.
It's just tough though, because I feel like no, this is for comics and this is for live action.
Well, it has to stay on Tatooine. It has to kind of be specific to Tatooine. So I don't think Afra's on Tatooine very often.
No, but I'm just saying for the spinoff show. Like I'm like I don't really care if I see her in Boba. I mean, it would be nice if they lead it in, but I hope they I mean, it would be nice if they opened the door for an Afra show and then did an Afra show. Like she deserves her own show. Absolutely. Like it that would be a fantastic show.
What if you get another big bounty hunter that's gonna fight Boba Fett? That's revealed at the end or something.
Yeah.
Who would you want? I mean, I would love that.
Yeah, like who do you think makes sense? What given Boba's story, like wait, does Han Solo's appearance make sense in this at all still? Or are we now
only as like a cameo in the background or something?
I'm moving farther away from that now.
Moving far away. Yeah.
But I still think there might be I think Ben, you're right. Like it might just be kind of like a background thing or something, or just sees him on the holo vids,
Right.
At some point. I don't know.
Even if they like passed at like in like someplace in Mos Espa.
Right. Do we go to Nal Hutta in this show?
Okay, I was gonna bring this up too. Yes, I hope we do. I think that like if you were gonna blow your budget on one like high
place,
Nal Hutta would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's like a hive of scum and villainy. It's like it's a filthy Coruscant, right?
It's basically perfectly sold. Like
it's
neon
Atlantic City, the planet.
Nightclubs, dingy alleys, trash laden.
Yeah, you get some of your neon
swamps. I think lots of swampland.
Yeah,
marshland surrounded by just.
It's Elizabeth, New Jersey, the planet. I'm dropping all these in hopes that Jason listens to this one. All the Jersey references I can possibly make.
Going back to bounty hunter stuff, I think they're leaning on the Western stuff too here, right? So, Cad Bane.
Oh boy, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get
Cad Bane. I think we are.
Filoni's gonna make that happen,
but I think we will. Yeah,
that's a good call. That's a good call.
I think we're gonna get an actual like quick draw scenario.
I mean, they both have jetpacks too. They could really like blow a budget on that. That would be cool. Yeah. The only other one I think.
Don't you think it's obvious though? Now it's the Hutts. Hutts are the main villain.
Yeah.
Chrysanthemum's the muscle that's probably gonna fight Boba in a climactic. Final battle.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could come early though. This is still early. We're 2 out of 7
in, 5 to go.
I mean, and they've covered a lot of ground. Like Boba's already wearing his like garb we see him in Mandalorian. So
wait,
we're being conservative with our
Watto
here.
Still out there.
Oh yeah, Watto's still a possibility.
Do we get Watto in?
We might get a Watto cameo.
I would love a Watto cameo. I would love it. That's the thing. It's like, I really enjoyed the sequels and I love them, but they just like disregarded the prequels in a lot of ways. And it's just like, no, they happened and they were awesome. The prequels were awesome. Like, let's just honor them and build on them.
They were
leaning into episode 2.
Inspired.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I mean, there's the Filoni aspect too, and he's going to want to drag in one of his people too. But
Yeah,
I mean,
Cat
but
Bane.
dude, Black K is A-lister like pull. It's not a
Yeah,
Filoni
that's a big
pull.
pull.
It's like
I mean,
it's a
I
sweet character. Like, yeah,
actively cheered when that happened.
yeah. I
But
did like
it kind
a
of makes sense
power
though,
slide
given
across my living room on my knees, like a
Yeah.
rock baller from the
yeah, it's kind of the greatest reveal. Like when you didn't think the hut reveal. It's almost like in
I know.
that episode of Curb where like he runs into a glass like door and then spills wine, like the plot burst scene. Like back to back. Like it's just so
Yeah.
good. Like the back to back reveals.
Well,
was
and
like-
they even shoot Black K from behind, and it's
so
not
good.
clear that it's a Wookiee, but I'm like, oh, this is gonna be some cool alien looking thing. Like my mind wasn't even thinking, of course, it's gonna be a
Oh.
known character because they already had the huts. Like you're not. What are
That
you gonna do?
Wookiee looks like it would snap you in half. Like,
Yeah. Oh, the
it's-
upshots. It was the most menacing thing I've ever seen on screen. Like I
Yeah.
was just like, it's the cheers to the props to the props people.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
costume design, because it was perfect, striking, fearsome, and then
Yeah.
the cinematography
and the
on
growling,
Black
almost like a lion's growl, more than
Yeah.
like Wookiee moan. Like Chewbacca
Yeah.
would just kind of like mope around, and then
Yeah.
like this was like straight up samples of
Yeah.
like lions on like the
Yeah.
Serengeti. I was like, oh, dude, this Wookiee's gonna destroy Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Which was kind of interesting because that was like a staple part. We mentioned this kind of earlier, but of Boba Fett's thing is he had Wookiee braids on as part of his uniform and
Yeah.
had him tagged on there. I like wonder, one of my favorite things that they doesn't get a lot of airtime is he has like a samurai's display for his armor in his bedroom, in his like his Bacta room. And I just wonder if like somewhere there, I don't know, probably he lost all those braids in the Sarlacc.
They
probably got
disintegrated or melted,
Yeah.
maybe. But
I
maybe
just
he'll have
wonder-
he'll have a new one to put on there after.
Oh, dude, imagine that if he like kills Black K and then puts a black braid, like Wookiee braid on his.
Yeah.
We already had precedents where that Trandoshan brought in a Wookiee pelt. That was this tribute was a Wookiee pelt
Oh, right.
in episode 1.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff there. Like they know, I don't know. I mean, that's pretty genius.
Yeah.
That's pretty much genius. It's great. So I don't know. I think there will be another Filoni shoe that'll drop, but I'm really impressed that they haven't done it. Like Filoni's done that a lot. I love all his characters. I'm glad he's bringing them back, but it's like, there's other characters that other amazing creators in the Star Wars galaxy have created, and like let's pull on those a little bit for the hardcores like us and our listeners.
I love when they do that stuff. It just makes everything integrated and smart, and just like, again, like you said, it's not just from Filoni's sandbox.
Right.
It's playing with other characters, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I really feel like Robert Rodriguez is a hardcore Star Wars.
He's such a hard. I feel it too. Yeah,
But did Favreau wrote this episode too, right?
he did.
I think he wrote the whole season.
Wow, that's amazing. I wonder if Rodriguez, because Rodriguez is directing 3 episodes, and I wonder if they're going to be 3 in a row, and if he wrote them. I wonder if we're going to get like a little like
Rodriguez arc.
Yeah, like honestly, like maybe that's when they go to Now How to, right?
Old Death
for the
Proof
Rodriguez
or-
episodes.
Yeah.
What if like the scene when we do get balls to the walls Boba with helmet on? It's going to be. It's going to be an all-out action sequence, I imagine. And so I imagine Rodriguez might direct that sequence, and that sequence might be like the big character development through action moment where it's a verse a character that's means a lot, which is I think Atakam Razor. I think Black Chrysanthemum is the villain of this, or is like the opponent for Boba in this show.
He's the guy we're talking
And
about.
it's gonna be like the thing, because we're talking about like another character showing up, and I think it's just it's this new Wookiee character, and that's going to be the threat that that Boba has to overcome, and it's going to be pretty basic in that regard. But then also, I think there's a lot of development to be seen there too.
Well,
with
and you'll get
Black
your
Chrysanthemum.
right, and you'll do that. You'll get your 2 matchups, right? You'll get the one where Boba Fett gets his butt handed to him, right, and then he'll have the rematch
Or
at the end of the season.
Or in episode 3 or 4, the twins send Black K, and he kills Black K, and then he goes to the next level in Enter the Dragon or whatever. Like he goes to the next level and he goes to Nal Hutta, and then that's where they sick Forlom and Zuckuss on him.
What if he reasons with Black K though? Like I think Boba Fett's ability now is reasoning. I think he's learning
diplomat.
Java, yeah. I think, I wouldn't even call him a diplomat because I think he's just got the Michael Corleone kind of like.
Okay.
Yep. It
He's
could
kind
be.
of like he's just going to like he's kind of strong arming people at the same time as just being stern about like getting the truth. And I feel like he might get the truth out. He might reason with Black Chrysanthemum, and then they could turn on the Hutts. Yeah, they could team up.
Maybe.
Wow.
That would be
That's
cool.
an epic. Then you're like, whoa, like that group is growing. The family.
That's the comic book arc, right? Is they'll fight and then they'll team up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Black K picks the winner. Like he doesn't want to work for a loser,
Yeah.
And he has a fantastic point of view. We just haven't heard him speak yet. Like I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun dialogue.
That would be really great. Subtitles of Black K, just like dropping science.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited.
Maybe we'll speak basic. I thought he could in the comic.
That'd be weird.
No, I don't think that would be really
he
weird.
can? Okay.
All I ever think of is the
They hire Michael Caine as Black Chrysanthemum.
that would be amazing. They've only in old canon they only ever had one Wookiee who could speak basic, and that's because he had a speech impediment.
You see.
And that was canon. That was introduced by Timothy Zahn in The Heir of the Empire. They meet someone, and there's a whole scene where this Wookiee's talking basic to Han and Leia.
You can't kill the Hutts as long as I'm holding this bowcaster.
And I think
Yeah.
Leia says
I want to
something
blow
along
your
the lines
bloody
of-
doors off.
Yeah.
Oh god, can we recast this? Oh my
Let's
god.
do it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I just love Michael Caine. Except for this one movie I just found on Netflix, and it's like some
Jaws the Revenge.
Oh gosh, it's so terrible. But Michael Caine, whatever. Can do no wrong. Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be great. This has opened up a huge Pandora's box. I feel like this is just the beginning. Like, if they were able to do this, who knows what we'll be talking about next week? Like, that's what I mean. Like, it could be you could kill Black K next week, and then it's like another level of something or other. Or they could slow. I mean, this has been a slow playing thing.
If it slow down, we may not see Black K at all next week.
Yeah, I have high hopes though. Like, first week, super happy. Second week, exponentially happier.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a great trajectory, super fun. They have all the elements here, and as far as I'm concerned, they're doing everything that my heart desires.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm getting all the sustenance, Star Wars sustenance.
Right on. Well, we'll talk to you next week. It'll be released a little later next week, but we'll do it to it. We've got a new book coming out. We're going to cover that soon as well. Will that be next week? We've got a High Republic book. We're going to get that in there. Yeah. And there'll be soon a lot of comic book arcs are all going to end at the same time, and we're going to be covering later in this month. But we got our hands full with Boba Fett right now.
Yeah.
Lucky us and lucky you.
Incredible golden age of Star Wars continues.
Yeah.
True.
Even in tough times, we're still getting incredible Star Wars content.
Yes, that's something to be grateful for. So we did it. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to us. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week. May the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you always.